Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. Daddy, with your WWE Saturday night's main event instant analysis. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here just minutes after WWE concluded its most recent event inside the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, to break down every single thing that happened not only on WWE Saturday night's main event, but some of what transpired on SmackDown this past Friday that directly builds to this show, the final special event before SummerSlam in just a couple of weeks. Vintage Chris Vanini will be along for the ride momentarily as we initially get into the show. Allow Silver King to remind you that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, for Vintage Chris Vanini, for the Getting Over Wrestling podcast in its totality. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. On YouTube, you can listen to the show. You can watch full-length video interviews. We have a few new interviews coming up over the next couple of months. And if you hit the link in our social media profiles, you can join our free Slack channel, talk about wrestling all week long with the Getting Overheads, our listeners and fans. And you can get a lot more links in our profile as well. Make sure you follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. Now, while Saturday night's main event is not technically a premium live event, nor is it a pay-per-view, when we tape shows this late in the evening, especially on weekends, Silver King and Vintage, we crack open cold ones. And what the Silver King has in hand right now, appropriately, is Caramel Apple Fandango from Topping Goliath Brewery in Decorah, Iowa. But forget Iowa, although I guess that has some relation to Seth Rollins. The idea was caramel apple, Big Apple, Saturday night's main event in New York. That is what the Silver King is going with, Vintage. I did not confirm whether you had a cold beverage with you. I know you're also getting over being sick. Do you have something there that you can celebrate with or no?
Yes. First off, good on you for properly saying Fandango.
Absolutely.
And not going back to what that was. Yeah, I've just what I've had lying around the house. The Three Nations Brewing Watermelon Sucker Punch. They're local here in North Texas. Always have a little bit around. And it's a fruity good one.
I know this is called caramel apple. It is way sweeter than I expected. It's delicious, but this is going to be an interesting show because this is not the taste I was expecting in my mouth as we went through this WWE Saturday night's main event instant analysis. And speaking of tastes in mouths,
PG, brother.
But let's not waste any time. Let's get into this WWE Saturday night's main event instant analysis. Before we go match by match, segment by segment, Vintage, aesthetically, Saturday night's main event at Madison Square Garden. I mean, it is where it is meant to be, right? I know they've only done one other event there in 2007, but it's just perfect. The old school aesthetic, mostly with Madison Square Garden and the history there. They don't lean into it as much as they did before with the light blue shirts and the clean canvas and the whole 9 yards, but it still felt like a Saturday night's main event. WWE made a really smart move. They altered the logo and color scheme to include orange for the Knicks instead of red, because it's normally red, white, and blue. However, despite them creating a special logo and a color scheme that was used, I would say 90% of the arena, the top rope was still red, as was the logo on the LED ring posts, as was the logo on the mic flags. These are minor nitpick issues, but there's still mistakes that are purely about attention to detail. And it's astounding to me that a multi-billion-dollar company that goes through all this effort to create a special logo and do all this stuff for the New York Knicks still missed 3 spots where they use the old red logo. I don't know what's going on with production these days. That stood out to me, Vintage. Did you have any general thoughts about the presentation of this show?
You mean like you wanted an orange rope?
Mm-hmm.
With the blue and the white?
Absolutely. And the mic flag to be the appropriate logo.
We're going to get to this later. This was way too much New York Knicks. I'm done with it. The logo, I noticed it. I didn't think of it was orange for the Knicks. I thought it was just kind of a toned down logo. The aesthetic, there barely is an aesthetic anymore. I miss the blue referee
Me
shirts.
too.
I miss
Yeah, I know.
the microphone coming down from the top for the main event. I miss Jesse Ventura. I miss the music. They didn't even give us, I don't think they gave us the old music and all that kind of stuff for this. There's
I
just
don't know.
no effort being put into Saturday Night's Main Event anymore. It's really a shame because when they first brought it back, we were digging it. And with each successive one, there's just been less and less to where it just feels like an episode of television.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's no effort being put in, but there's not the effort being put in for it to feel special like it once did, is what you're, I think, primarily trying to say. And I agree.
All that's left is the rope color, the logo on the mic, and the narrower entrance ramp.
And the special, second stage with Joe Tessitore and Stephanie McMahon in for Jesse the Body Ventura, who, of course, Jesse Ventura was way better doing that than she was. You're right. I mean, it has been changed. I wonder if some of that is because it's no longer on NBC, and that was kind of the tie-in. Now that it's just on Peacock, it doesn't have the network television old school special feel. You know what I mean? Perhaps
basically
that's the reason.
Because it's not on big NBC, they're not putting in as much effort.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the effort. I think it's just changing the concept to make it more akin to a PLE rather than a network TV special. And by the way, moving off NBC, like we can say whatever we want about the aesthetic, these shows run so much better exclusively on Peacock. The commercials obviously only happen between segments. And I mean, maybe I was wrong. Like, I try to pay attention. I believe there were multiple times during the show where there were consecutive segments without a commercial break. Did you pick that up as well? Like, I think the first two matches, I don't believe there was a break between them, for example.
I couldn't tell you offhand. It just kind of all flows together. So it's not a lot. It's a shorter show. It's basically 2 hours. It's basically an episode of SmackDown at this point. With what feels like
it's definitely
fewer commercials, or at least where they're placed. It was always so awkward when it was on big NBC, kind of like how it was spaced. It does flow better on just on Peacock.
On any episode of television, whether it's SmackDown, I think it's the same for Raw, even though it's on Netflix, Dynamite, whatever the case, NXT, you get 40 minutes of action of show and 20 minutes of commercial for every hour. That's just standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There is no way there were 20 minutes of commercial per hour for this. I think there were, I'm guessing, 16 total minutes of actual commercial break for 2.5 hours of this show. I believe that's all it was. It flowed so much better than these PLEs on ESPN, and it flowed better than TV, obviously, and definitely better than old Saturday Night's Main Events. That was a lot, not talking about wrestling, what actually happened on the show. Let's flip that script and actually go into all of these matches, and we will start with what was not the main event, but it kind of was the main event, and I'll get to that in a little bit later, I guess, in the show. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes against Gunther and Sami Zayn. Now, going into SmackDown on Friday, this was a tag team match, and it was extremely straightforward, and we discussed that both Tuesday and Thursday, on this podcast. But a lot transpired on SmackDown that changed the match, but didn't ultimately change that much in the end. Gunther opened SmackDown, claiming he's been mistreated since transferring to the Blue Brand, suggesting Nick Aldis must be jealous that he's the greatest professional wrestler in the world. No lies detected there. He called the scheduled tag team match unacceptable before Adam Pearce interrupted, surprisingly defending Aldis, claiming he saved Gunther's job because Pearce would have fired him if he was on Raw. Not only that, Pearce said Aldis fought for a match stipulation that Gunther, when he attacked him, did not allow him to explain last week. Should the challengers win, they will get added to the WWE Championship match at SummerSlam. Was this the plan the entire time? Probably. Do I feel justified puffing out my chest and discussing that on the show this week? You bet your ass I did.
I am it!
Rhodes interrupted the segment as Gunther celebrated the announcement, quietly knocking him out of the ring, promising he and Punk would ensure he doesn't make it to SummerSlam and challenging one-on-one for the main event. While I did not have much interest in a third Cody Gunther match, there was more than enough reason for it given the car door incident, which is something else that was completely glossed over last week and called out here on the podcast. So this opening segment not only filled in a huge plot hole with the car door, it added a necessary stipulation to give the tag team match legitimate juice for Saturday night's main event. It's tough to have a true issue with any of it, and as a wise man once said, I believe I had that.
Yeah, it made sense. They filled up some holes because my question was, why would Aldis even want that based on the timing? You have to have going through attack him, all that kind of stuff. And so to say Aldis is adamant that you basically not be fired and that this continue to go on, I was like, okay, like there.
He's doing his job.
You added some stakes to the match, explained it, made sense. My only thought was I'm thinking of this now. I didn't go back and look, but I thought Aldis had said it's Cody Punk, but you'll get a match at SummerSlam. Like the way he ordered the phrasing may not have left that open in the moment. So I don't know if it was the choice at the time or not. But either way, this was fine.
I thought he said something like, I thought it was Gunther saying like, I want a title match at SummerSlam. And then he said, you have until the end of the show to like change your mind or whatever. And then they met in the ring and he just attacked Aldis before he could actually say everything. And then they got to this. They could also be rewriting history and Aldis said his piece and Gunther attacked. And then they're just retrofitting it to do this because it's a stronger way to potentially build the SummerSlam main event or potentially build a match between Gunther and Aldis, which, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but it ultimately proved out. It did. So Punk backstage confirmed the stipulation with Pierce, saying he hates the concept because he's old school. Further, he disagreed with the Rhodes Gunther booking, as he was confident the latter would be more focused on hurting Cody than anything else. Damian Priest confronted on the back end, appreciating the call out from Punk last week, and each said that they might come after the other's titles after SummerSlam. Gunther backstage criticized Rhodes for again getting involved in his business as Candice LeRae and comatose Johnny Gargano rolled by. Candice was saying they need the win and Gunther should not screw it up. Blake Monroe stalked during the segment and attacked LeRae from behind, chucking her into multiple road cases before strutting away. This was all solid storyline continuation, scene setting. Not much to say about any of it, though. Punk and Gunther had the right frame of mind for their respective characters. Priest was a meaningless addition. The interaction between LeRae and Gunther was actually kind of fun. And this was probably Monroe's best attack since debuting. Like, she actually looked like a badass here. It's absurd that's all she's done on TV in 4 appearances to this point. But look, she was involved. She, LeRae, and Gargano were involved basically in a segment with Gunther and Punk. So, like, I'll take it, you know? Punk backstage questioned Rhodes' decision-making ahead of the match. Cody recognized it was not a good idea, but said Gunther squashing his head in a car door made it so he basically had no other option. Punk made sure it was okay that he have Rhodes back to ensure nothing shitty happened. And while Cody approved, they went back and forth for a while about when they would see each other next, Rhodes assuming he would ultimately not need Punk's help until they teamed on Saturday night. This was fine, albeit a bit awkward, and most importantly, it was another week where zero intensity was added to their SummerSlam match, which really had me hoping the stipulation would come into play on Saturday. What about you?
They suddenly have a tag team match together. So, like, they kind of have to put that aside to get ready for the tag team match. So then that's another week lost where you're not building up animosity between the two. That's the downside of doing it this way. Now, could they have done more? Yes, but there was only so much you could do at the time.
So we had Cody against Gunther. This obviously main evented SmackDown. Rhodes attacked from behind during Gunther's entrance, hitting 33% of a Cody cutter after the break. When Gunther wrapped Rhodes' leg around the post, despite that not being anything out of the ordinary, not out of school, Punk trucked down to the ringside area. Cody executed a figure 4 leg lock coming out of the next break as Sammy finally returned to TV, running out of the crowd to attack Punk ringside, throw him over the announce table. Cody turned his attention from the match with a tope suicida, and when Zayn responded by pulling him down off the apron into the ring post, the referee called the disqualification. Gunther went for a powerbomb into the table. Punk clotheslined him off of it as a 4-way brawl erupted in and around the ring. It, of course, ended in pull-apart fashion, but given there were 4 guys all brawling, they basically had no success pulling them off one another. While pull-apart brawls and disqualifications are commonplace in WWE and far too frequent, for some reason, I did not mind the booking in this situation. It was a classic go-home to get the match that we are about to discuss. Rather, the way it was booked, I felt confident coming out of SmackDown that we would get the 4-way at SummerSlam, given the effort put into doing the brawl, featuring everyone in the spot and the truncated timeline into the show. There was a DQ earlier in the show. We'll discuss that on Tuesday. That was an issue. For me, this was perfectly fine, particularly given my renewed expectations for Saturday night's main event. But it was problematic because it was the second DQ on the show and the second match with a similar finish. Even more reason it should not have happened in the earlier bout, especially since this one was a lot more important. Did you feel the same way at the end of SmackDown that, number one, this was successful building to Saturday night's main event, but it also kind of told us, hey, they're going to go with the four-way because there's legitimate heat between all of these guys?
It was successful in building for Saturday night's main event. I came out of it still kind of 50-50 on which way it would go for SummerSlam. So, I mean, like, I thought it was a possibility for sure, but I wasn't really kind of leaning one way or the other because I could see both ways, which is good.
Right.
That creates interest for Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I'd say
the best part of this was Sammy attacking Punk.
Yes.
That needed to happen.
Absolutely.
Like Sammy has to be mad at CM Punk for what happened. And he was, and he took that out on him. That was needed.
I'd say I was 65-35 thinking the heels were going to win coming out of SmackDown. So we had Saturday night's main event. Sammy was pacing backstage saying he chose to stay silent for the better part of 2 weeks because he wanted to pick his words carefully. He does not want to call himself a victim, but everything that's happened since he won the WWE Championship has been egregious. He ranted about Cody getting a title match at SummerSlam just by asking, whereas he had to smash his head against the glass ceiling for years, and how he was being forced to tag with a guy who disrespects him when he called Aldis trying to get an explanation of that booking while advocating for himself. Gunther interrupted, basically warning Zayn not to destroy his SummerSlam opportunity. Cody and Punk also cut promos in gorilla position, doing the whole tongue-in-cheek, can we coexist type of gimmick, with each saying they need to ensure the other doesn't have excuses for losing at SummerSlam. It was nice to get an interaction between them, considering Sammy had not been given any promo time the last 2 weeks, setting them at odds despite both having the same goal. It provided further thought to the idea that they could ultimately implode, with Zayn probably taking the fall and raging Gunther. But it was hardly definitive, and more than anything, like I said, it was important for Sammy to get a real opportunity to share his perspective for the first time since losing the title, even if he probably should have done that last week. The Cody and Punk backstage stuff, that was a lot of fun, but again, there's no heat between them, and there's so little time to build that match, which is precisely why I wanted and thought the heels had a real chance to win this match.
On the heel part, great promo from Sami Zayn, again, saying what needed to be said.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it here. I'll say this part here. I loved Gunther's jacket.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
It was his wrestling jacket, but not only that, it had stitched in under Ring General MSG 7/18/26, like the date, like big soccer match jerseys have. I thought that was awesome. Very, very cool bit there for his jacket. The Cody Punk bit, it was kind of funny because like Cody was kind of leaning into the old school wrestling of it all because he ended his bit by going, "Tell him, Punk." And I'm thinking of the Outrunners here over on AEW doing that old 80s wrestling stuff. That was a nice little bit from Cody that I liked. Them just kind of like nudging each other and where they're like standing. I thought I enjoyed it between the two because we don't see the two of them together very often. And they seem to be having fun with each other. I liked the bits backstage leading into this match.
Yeah, no question about that. So let's get to the match. This was not the main event segment. Interestingly enough, both faces wore Knicks colors. Gunther's entrance looked incredible using the MSG lights, and Zayn got into it with Punk immediately before the bell. It is clearly on site with those two, which is probably important for later. Gunther dumped Punk spine first onto the barricade early, with Rhodes physically bringing him back into the ring. Cody Cutter took Gunther down a bit later, and he subsequently ate a double jump version after Rhodes threw his weight belt into the audience and hit a tope suicida on Zayn. Sammy caught him with a blue thunder bomb, but ate shit on a haluva kick. Punk took him down with a running knee bulldog and elbow drop, moved into an anaconda vice. Gunther tried to break it with a powerbomb, but Rhodes countered into a figure four leg lock. Gunther couldn't reach Cody, so he raked Punk's head, and then Sammy followed suit by breaking their submission. Really smart spot. Punk ate an exploder suplex and a haluva kick, but Rhodes pulled Zayn off the cover with crossroads. Gunther took him down with a rainmaker, but Punk ducked the same attempt and hit Go to sleep. This was an absolute sprint for 9 minutes until all four guys were sprawled out on the canvas. The referee did not care about tagging for a good 2 minutes there, though we did get back to it a little bit later. It appeared as if neither legal man had help in their respective corner, but Gunther was ultimately there for Zayn while Rhodes was not there for Punk. He ran Punk into Cody, Gunther did, when, the latter finally got on the ring apron, twice locking in the sleeper hold. The second time, Punk was able to make a last-ditch tag. Zayn subsequently broke a fall after Crossroads, accidentally knocking down the referee as well. Sammy flew out of the ring after a GTS as Wade Barrett called the wrong legal man on the face side, which I don't know how he wasn't following it. Gunther dodged a disaster kick with Rhodes accidentally hitting Punk, so he grabbed the WWE title for a belt shot, adding a powerbomb with a late arriving official, seeming like he was going to count the 1, 2, 3, except he got pulled out of the ring at the last moment by Aldis, who was hiding below the ring apron. He reached up and hit Gunther in the face with the WWE title, and Punk added a GTS before Aldis threw the original referee into the ring for the 1, 2, 3. Now, this match went 14 minutes. They fit way more action than 14 minutes worth into this bout. It was excellent with a sensible finish for SummerSlam booking purposes, though it was certainly not the result I wanted, nor am I sure that it was the right one, but I do have perspective from WWE where I can acknowledge that it might be the right one for them. This match gets 4.25 stars despite the finish, which was received incredibly well by the fans and did not detract from the work that preceded it at all. All 4 guys went out there and worked their asses off. They basically provided a 20-plus minute main event in 2/3 of that time. We'll get to the booking decision for SummerSlam in a moment, but Vintage, what did you think about the match and the finish? Because for me, it was easily the match of the night, and given the sprint style, it actually exceeded my expectations in terms of quality, and that's despite the baby faces prevailing, which I didn't really want.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed 14 minutes based on what you said. And
right.
There was even a comment from commentary during the match about how quick this is all moving and how fast they're going. So, yeah, for the time that they had, put in great work. I don't think I'd give it an A. Probably made like, B plus A minus, like real good, solid stuff.
Fair.
And we'll talk about the all this finish of it all in a minute. But good stuff. Maybe not as many like close false finishes as I would have liked. Was there a moment in this match where you thought the heels were winning and going to SummerSlam?
Only on the WWE title shot and the powerbomb. And then the new referee ran down. I mean, there's always a sneaking suspicion inside of you like, oh, he's just going to kick out. I didn't think Aldis was going to show up in that moment. I figured he'd kick out and the match would continue. But in that moment, I was like, you know what? They might actually do this because it was a huge protection move.
Yeah, so it was good. Enjoyed it. Energetic. We need to take a moratorium on Cody versus Gunther now.
We do. There's no question.
And a lot. Gunther, I don't think has a win maybe out of them.
No, Cody beat him at Crown Jewel last year
with the foot under. Well, he beat him last year. Yeah,
he did the flip over out of the sleeper hold.
The foot under the rope.
Then he did foot under the rope. He escaped a second time, which should have been a disqualification or whatever, but wasn't. And then I guess this as well. So
yeah,
it's not been great. And then lost the title in the triple threat. So Gunther didn't factor in the third match.
Yep.
Now look, as far as SummerSlam goes, like we have said for the last few weeks, there's just no heat between Rhodes and Punk whatsoever. And the reason that's problematic is that now they only have one real episode of SmackDown to build the feud because the other episode is 24 hours before SummerSlam itself. And we're not just talking about building it in terms of anticipation for you and I and all of our listeners and WWE fans and whomever to be excited for the show. They got to sell tickets. They have 2 nights at this stadium that they need to sell. And you have to give people a reason to want to see Rhodes and Punk, besides the fact that it is just Rhodes and Punk fighting for the title. This is SummerSlam. This is not a B-level, premium live event. So that's why, for me, it seemed legitimately possible that the singles match would get pushed to a future show and a 4-way would happen at SummerSlam. Cody Punk would be great. But Cody Punk, Gunther, and Sammy, as you saw Friday and as you saw here, it had so much juice. And I know this was a tag team match. There were plenty of times it operated like a 4-way. And I was watching it and I was saying to myself, this is going to be an incredible SummerSlam main event if they go with this. But they're not going with it. They're not. Cody Punk will be great. Okay. Gunther Aldis has been built surprisingly well. And it should be great also. Maybe not like by a star rating, but in terms of fun in the ring and like good storytelling, it should really hit the mark. I just feel like both of those matches could have happened later with the 4-way involving more guys with a more intricate storyline getting featured in a couple weeks, because then you don't have to worry about building Cody and Punk into a real feud. You can do it on the back end. Aldis costing Gunther a win in this spot was a really smart way to solidify their match. But really, considering he's a general manager, should probably get fired as a consequence of this, right? Now, we'll have to see what happens to that in Monday and Friday, and we'll also have to see what Sammy does on the show, because right now, he has no path to SummerSlam. Don't forget, all this effectively screwed him too. And considering Zayn's promo before the match about how he's been treated egregiously since winning the title, that definitely plays. We might even get the conspiracy theorist character back. That documentary he was creating never got aired. For those reasons, this booking actually accomplished a lot. They could harken back to that. They can add this. And you have a fully fleshed out Sami Zayn conspiracy theory, I'm treated like dog shit character. WWE here, they're getting the main event they want. Gunther has every reason in the world to literally fight all this, not just hate him. And Zayn has more proof that there's this concerted effort to keep him from the WWE title, which in time, he can use as fuel to become babyface again, probably before a WrestleMania. And Sammy Punk was also set up during this match because they were throwing haymakers at one another at the opening bell. And you mentioned it from SmackDown on Friday as well. There's a lot of heat between them. So ultimately, this was real solid booking. It got the job done, accomplished what WWE want. But was it my preference? No, it was not my preference.
Like, you're right. This is going to be a main event to SummerSlam, and there's been zero build.
Mm-hmm.
And they have spent 2 weekends, two SmackDowns with the opportunity to start to do that, and they didn't. All they did here was Punk and Cody kind of like nudging each other out, standing backstage, and Punk, when he put the belt over his shoulder, hits Cody in the face with it. Like, there's simply not enough time to tell any good story, and I don't even know if you could tell a good story. Now, do I think CM Punk's going to come out next Friday and have a great promo and get me more excited for the match? Yeah, I do, because he's CM Punk. But there was a little bit of Cody in this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
The way he was just kind of like swaggering a little bit of like, if Cody turned heel, it would work.
Of course.
We know Cody as a heel would work. Everything about him is a heel. The way
Absolutely.
he dresses, the way he looks, all this kind of stuff. There's a real opportunity to turn Cody heel and have that work, and Punk as the babyface makes sense because more people are going to cheer CM Punk over Cody most of the time. Now, you can't turn heel a week going into the SummerSlam match. Although I say that a year ago, John Cena just turned face on a whim the night before SummerSlam.
That was
so I guess
different circumstantially. You can't turn heel. You can't turn heel the week before SummerSlam. You can turn heel at SummerSlam though.
That's what I wonder. Like,
yeah.
Do we get but if Cody is going to turn heel, he's got to come away with the win in doing so. And
you turn heel after you lose out of frustration is what you would do.
Yeah, but that's not interesting. It's more interesting that he would turn heel to get the belt back. And it's a belt he's just had. So like, that's not that interesting. I don't know. I don't know what story you can tell or what you can do here, but there was just a little bit of cockiness around Punk, around Cody tonight. Yeah. That was like, there's something there.
Well, let's tackle this because sight unseen, audio unheard, WWE, right as we are covering this match, posted a brand new clip from after Saturday night's main event. It's a backstage interview with CM Punk. The headline on it says, "Things get heated." So let's go ahead and play it, see what heated up, and whether this changes either of our opinions coming out of the show and going into SummerSlam.
CM Punk, the people wanted a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, and they're going to get it thanks to your victory tonight.
What's up? Please.
We're just recording up an interview.
I understand. You don't need any of this. I apologize. Please tell me that was an accident.
Sorry.
It's embarrassing. Put the camera. Well, you don't need any of this. You're whipping me back in the face.
I'm gonna
take him with you.
I don't know what's happening right now.
No. You're out there. You literally cracked me in the eye with this title. It's an accident, right? That's what I'm asking you. It's an accident. 100%. You don't need any of this out of here. Hey, guys, let me on. Calm down. Calm down. You're the one who's always emotional out there. Enough what?
I'm emotional.
You
Dude,
get
what's
emotional.
your problem?
What's my problem?
If I hit you, it was an accident.
Okay,
I'm not complaining about it.
Hey,
put it.
Drug me over on like a.
Cody, go right. Relax.
You
relax. Just get out of here. Go away.
Okay, I mean, that is some heat. I don't know that it accomplishes that much, by the way, at the end there, because this is audio, you can't see. That was actually Trick Williams getting between them, which was kind of cool to see, like, because Trick's tweener face heel right now, and these are obviously two
And he
pure
was
baby
there in
faces.
the arena. We saw him.
Yeah, but I'm saying like he literally injected himself to separate these guys, which is not a spot you would think he would be, and also Bobby Roode was part of this as well. So like you mentioned it, I did not during the breakdown. At the end of the show, at the end of the segment, excuse me, while they're celebrating, Punk takes the WWE title and then throws it over his shoulder like a champion does. And Cody was standing immediately behind him, and the strap hit him in the face. I'll be completely honest. The reason I didn't mention it is I just thought it was an accident. Like I thought it happened.
Oh, no way.
I didn't think it was for real, so I didn't mention it at all. But yes, Cody did like hold his face a little bit and gave him a look of like, what the hell was that? I thought he was just improvising really well in the moment. Look, bro, that is so effing weak as like the thing that triggers heat between them. Like it's so clearly an accident. Like, it's not like he swung the title around his body and hit him in the head. He put it over his shoulder, which anyone else would do.
The mega powers explode because someone accidentally tapped someone in the face.
I mean, yeah, that was over Miss Elizabeth, which, look, if you're gonna, explode a friendship over a woman, it being Miss Elizabeth, I think we all understand.
I'd be trying to get it in as much as possible, too.
But over a belt flip to the face vintage, I don't know about that.
Well, both of them were over an overreaction to a minor thing, so
I suppose.
It's got that going for it.
Okay, so is that enough?
But there was like a little bit there. Like, I think Cody Punk can become something really good. I just don't think there's enough time to do it.
Here's the truth, and you and I dislike when people from SmackDown appear on Raw for no reason whatsoever. For this feud, they need to be on Raw. This has to build itself on Raw and then build over to SmackDown and then maybe even build over to the Go Home Raw as well. Like, we need them on TV as much as possible to actually build this match. Otherwise, now we're waiting 6 days until they speak again and address a belt flip to head and why Cody's upset about that. I don't think that can abide.
How excited are you going to be when Punk comes out to talk and then the first one to interrupt him is Gunther to complain about things and we continue to drag this part on?
No, I think that's over. I think they've separated that for now and focused him on all this. I don't think we need to worry about Punk and Gunther. But do you agree with me, though? Like, look, putting aside our preferences, they probably need to be on Raw.
I mean, yeah, of course. You got 4 TV episodes until then. Put them on all 4. I'd love it.
They just need to be on all 4 to develop this feud. All right, let's move to what was actually the main event of the show, but I'm going to clarify that in a little bit. That was Roman Reigns appearing with New York Knicks star, NBA Finals MVP, and arguably the best point guard in the National Basketball Association, none other than number 11, Jalen Brunson. I'm sure this being last on the show pissed off many people, including potentially Vintage. But when you have Reigns and Brunson on a show inside Madison Square Garden, Brunson's first appearance in his arena since winning the NBA championship and NBA Finals MVP, it made sense circumstantially. Eli Manning narrated a video package likening Brunson to New York sporting legends before Brunson received a full entrance, including a voiceover from the Knicks public address announcer. He also wore an OTC 11 shirt, which should have been orange and blue, but it was black and gold for the title. And he nodded at a Danhausen picture on the wall as a highlight package played. Ultimately, Reigns met Brunson in gorilla position. They entered together, which actually somewhat diminished Roman visually because he was, 1 inch taller than an NBA player who is considered short, even for a point guard. Overall, This was a nice prelude, but it was way too long. And this is coming from someone who was down to soak in every ounce of Brunson appearing on a major WWE show in my favorite arena. Brunson held up the one as Pyro exploded with thunderous MVP and Jalen Brunson chants following. Reigns did get OTC for good measure. Roman understood it was a unique segment, saying they were out in the ring so greatness could acknowledge greatness. He called New York the home of WWE, put over himself before giving Brunson his flowers. The reactions for Brunson, understandably, dwarfed what Reigns got. Roman awarded Brunson a beautiful blue and orange strapped version of the World Heavyweight Championship. He got "You deserve it" chants, with Reigns clarifying that Brunson earned it. After saying "acknowledge us," they held the titles in the air, and it did seem like that might be it. But Seth Rollins' music hit. Except instead of Rollins, it was that human piece of garbage, Tyrese Halliburton, with a steel chair. Ironically, this is the second time this has happened, with Brunson sporting an injured hand and not actually able to do anything physical. Rollins attacked Reigns from behind as Hallie taunted Brunson, who could do nothing but stand in the corner, until he got in the way of an attempted stomp. As he and Rollins stood off against one another, Reigns kind of went around Brunson, hit him from the side with a Superman punch, and added a spear before strapping Brunson up with both titles and being allowed by Brunson to hold the Larry O'Brien trophy in the air to end the show. There was one obvious problem with this segment, which is that Reigns was a heel working with the hometown babyface Star, while Rollins was a face working with the heel visitor. And I am going to speak on behalf of all non-Knicks fans, though I'm sure Vintage, you will do that as well, admitting that this segment was basically nothing for most of you watching. The truth is, the national main event of this show was the tag team match. The New York main event was this segment. And you know what? That's okay. WWE provided 5 matches on the night overall, 2 segments that celebrated a massive accomplishment in an arena that has been their home base for decades for a team that is beloved by the biggest city in the entire country. As a Knicks fan, sure, I would have loved for Brunson to get physically involved, but the dude has a surgically repaired wrist, just as he did last time WWE involved him and Halliburton in a segment. I hate Hallie as a sports fan, so seeing him here was unwelcome, especially given what it meant for the Reigns-Rollins alignment, but I understand what they were doing, and I'm not worried about Seth getting heel reactions outside of New York. Though ironically, SummerSlam is in Minnesota, and Knicks and Timberwolves fans have kind of a kinship these days over some recent trades. I digress. Seeing Brunson get that reaction and the Knicks being able to celebrate the NBA championship in their arena after winning it on the road, it was the first time they got to do that. It was more than enough for me as a segment. But again, I understand, Vintage, if you and other people who are not Knicks fans either turned it off or just felt like, hey, that didn't really do shit and I didn't care about it because, you know, it's people I don't love. Like, you're a Pistons fan. You don't give a shit about either of those guys, you know?
This was so dumb. Like, my brother texted me that he turned it off. A couple people in the Slack, I think, said they had turned it off.
I don't blame anyone for turning it off.
First thing, Detroit Piston Cade Cunningham was there next to the ring right before the segment.
Was he?
He should have come out. Yeah, they showed him. And Michael Cole, Cole says him and then says he ran into a Knicks buzzsaw in the playoffs, which he didn't.
They didn't play.
They didn't play the playoffs.
Yeah, they didn't play.
Also, he didn't lose to the Knicks all season. So
hold on.
That's the first.
This is coming. Hold on. This is coming from Michael Cole, who thought Lionel Messi was Lionel Messi earlier in the show. He thought he was pronounced the same way as Lionel Richie. Okay, that's this guy's sports knowledge. He talks all the time about being like a Knicks fan and like a Mets fan and a Giants fan, whatever, or maybe a Jets fan, whatever the case might be. He doesn't know athletes' names. I love Michael Cole historically. I've been very critical of him recently. If you're not going to get the games right and you're not going to get the facts right, don't talk this shit on TV. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, unless he's thinking last year, but it's just anyway. That was weird.
Yeah.
So then Brunson, like, his walk takes forever, man. It was longer than a Roman entrance.
Yeah, it was like a
and
Goldberg
then we did
entrance.
a Roman entrance on top of it. With the walk backstage with everybody backstage clapping for him was extremely corny. Roman and him coming out and talking and just gassing him up. Nothing to do with wrestling. This is just a bizarrely long thing. At least Seth came out and did a thing. But like you said, the face heel dynamics were all kind of weird. You knew they weren't going to get physical because you could see it on Brunson's wrist like last time. And you know Halliburton's coming back from the injury. So, like, what was the point of any of this? It took so long. The crowd, by the way, not really like cheering that much.
That is false. That is blatantly false.
Much of anything all night. They were not very loud here for Brunson.
That is not true.
Or the other Knicks player earlier in the show, which we will get to. Like, I'm not saying they were quiet.
No.
It was just like not that big of a like.
I don't know if you had your volume down. The pop for Karl Anthony Towns was explosive, and Brunson got loud ass chants. Like the Brunson chants, the MVP chants. They stopped Reigns.
He got MVP chants,
they stopped
like,
Reigns while he was speaking about something else to chant for Brunson a second time. They were loud as shit. I don't know what you're talking about in that regard.
I think my biggest problem with this, though, is that, like, it felt old. Like they won the NBA championship a month and a half ago.
A month ago.
We've had an entire World Cup since then.
So
People have moved on.
no, they haven't.
And to like have this big celebration for Brunson and the Knicks just felt like this should have been like weeks ago.
They weren't
And
booked.
I think that was kind of my biggest thing was like we're still doing this Knicks stuff. Like
I think you're coming at this as a hater, honestly. Like I think
by the way, I like that the Knicks won. I was happy they won.
Yeah, but I think you're now sour about it. Like I think you're sour about it because first of all, what you said about the chanting is not true. Like you can just watch the clips. I could play them here on the show if you want me to for the volume. I'm not going to, but I could. It's just not true. They both got insanely loud reactions, Brunson and Cat. It's been a month and 5 days since they won the title, not 2 months. Sure, the World Cup happened.
I said a month and a half.
Yeah, but okay, that's 15 days and 5 days are not the same. It's been a month, basically, okay? It's been a month and less than a week, okay? The World Cup happening doesn't change the fact that the Knicks won. This is their first title for this team in 53 years in the city. It's a big effing deal. I live in Florida. I have not left the house and gone into public without wearing at least one Knicks thing in a month and 5 days. It's been every single day. Now you can say, well, that's ridiculous, Silver King. No, it's not. That's what's happening. People see me out in my NBA Finals hat and they yell, Knicks in 5. I see other people in Knicks stuff. I do the same thing. That is what this means for the team in the city right now. Okay, so
the problem, but here's the thing.
Let
the
me finish
Knicks
what
are
I'm
not
saying.
the first team to win a championship, by the way. I think that's the biggest problem. Like
What does
the
that
Milwaukee
matter?
Bucks broke a similar streak like a couple of years ago.
No
we didn't
one
hear about it
gives
for a
a
month.
flying F about the
Why
Milwaukee
do the
Bucks.
Knicks need a half of this show being dedicated to them? Was
Because
weird. Also, I was waiting for like literally when Roman's out there halfway through this, I'm like, is this supposed to be on the show or are we? Is
it's
supposed to go
totally
off air?
fine.
Like,
It is. I'm not telling you or anyone else that you have to like this. You not liking it. I even said in my commentary that if I wasn't a Knicks fan, I wouldn't have liked it. I admit all of that. Okay. But wondering why the World Wrestling Federation in its legitimate home of Madison Square Garden is celebrating the most important team to the city. And when I say that, I know the New York Yankees are huge. There's a lot of Giants fans and et cetera. But the New York Knicks are the only team. Yes, the Brooklyn Nets exist. No one gives a shit about the Brooklyn Nets. They are the only team that you could say like 90% of the city all agrees is their favorite. And basketball is the biggest sport in the biggest city in the country. So why 35 days after they won the NBA Finals, when WWE made its first trip to Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, has not housed Brunson or Cat or the Knicks since they won the title. Why did they do this?
who cares about that?
That's why everyone who's a
since
Knicks
then. Who
fan,
cares?
the 15,000 people in Madison Square Garden cared. That's why they did it, bro. It's not that difficult to understand.
No, I know why. I know why they did it. I just think the vast majority of people not watching this are not Knicks fans.
Agreed.
And thought this was kind of dumb. I was
Fine.
waiting for him to start singing American Pie like Drew McIntyre or Tyson Fury back in the day. I was like, what are we doing here?
No,
Like, this should tell me if you agree with this.
Sure.
This absolutely should not have been the main event of the show.
So I disagree only because how could you have done this in the middle of the show and then done a match after the fact? What I think they should have done.
Here's why. Because the last one they did with Brunson and Logan Paul and all that wasn't the main event either.
What I think they should have done. They didn't win a championship last time. That's different. Okay. This is a whole fucking involved thing. What I think they should have done is said the main event of the evening is CM Punk and Cody Rhodes against Sami Zayn and Gunther. Stick around after as Roman Reigns acknowledges Jalen Brunson. They should have made it clear this is extra. But they didn't.
Yeah,
they made it the main event
that
of the
would
show.
have been better.
That is what I agree
The
with.
main event. They were like during the tag, like it's our main event, but still to come. And I was like, well, it's not really your
Right.
main
They should have
event.
said,
I
stay
will say-
tuned after the main event for Roman Reigns and Jalen Brunson. And if they had done that, I think people would have turned it off, and that's okay, because why would they give a shit about Jalen Brunson? But the way WWE did it, they wanted people to keep watching. They led you to believe something significant was going to happen here, and it didn't. And I want to be very clear, just because I am, relatively criticizing your opinion on this, it doesn't mean I disagree with the basic fact that for a non-Knicks fan, you could not have given a flying F about this segment. Like, I get it. I completely get it and admit that. But guess what, bro?
Thank you.
I am a Knicks fan, and 15,000 people in that arena were Knicks fans. And again, WWE's home is New York and Madison Square Garden, and the Knicks are New York's team. So
it's home in Stamford, Connecticut. We're the Yukon Huskies.
Dude,
the championships.
People have been calling WWE.
You know what the
New York
weirdest
for
part was?
60 years.
The weirdest part. I laughed when this happened. Roman lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy himself. What is that? You didn't win the trophy.
Brunson lifted his title. They exchanged it.
I know,
Yeah.
but like, so a celebrity lifting a championship belt is whatever. Roman Reigns specifically lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy and doing it with one hand, like as high as it can go.
Yeah, it was pretty high.
It just looks so funny to me. I was laughing.
It's funny because I'm looking at that picture right as you're saying it. I think the idea was like WWE's top star is celebrating your championship.
Like the
I believe
Stanley
that's
Cup
the
is like, oh, you take the Stanley Cup to celebrities and they'll lift it, but it's like kind of like it looks weird, but it's kind of supposed to. But just like the way, I don't know, it was. Whole thing was weird.
I feel haterade being drunk on that side of the screen. I'm just being completely honest with you, man. Like, again, criticize the segment all you want, but you cannot criticize WWE's decision to do it. I
just think it. I understand why. Look, I get why. I just think it's dumb, and I think it's like missed the moment. Like if this was like, I know they didn't have the show scheduled then, but if it was like a week or two after they'd won, be like, look, this is the moment.
Oh,
this
well,
is
come
what
on, of
culture
course.
is right now.
Of course, yeah.
Culture's moved on.
I think the larger sports culture has moved on. True. New York has not moved on. And that's with the World Cup final happening in less than 12 hours. But New York has not
we
moved
should
on.
have gotten, I mean, if they had gotten Messi and Lamine Yamal to go face to face.
I'm quite sure that would have happened immediately before their World Cup final match at 2 p.m. the next day. Yeah, they were going to be on WWE. Maybe they'll get them on Raw. I don't know where Raw is emanating from, but it's probably nearby. SmackDown was in Albany, but we spent a lot of time on this. I think we both said our pieces,
we're not talking about the Knicks again until like next year's playoffs. Please, for the love of God.
I mean, you're forgetting a key tenet, Vintage, of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast.
Well, I guess we have later in the show, but after the show.
Not only are we going to be discussing it later on this Saturday night's main event, Instant Analysis, you do need to remember that when it comes to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast,
This is my show. My show.
but no, we'll probably calm down the New York Knicks talk going forward. Let's move on here. But actually, before we do that, Silver King does need to remind you that whether it is Raw, SmackDown, NXT, premium live events on Netflix, or Saturday night's main event on YouTube, Getting Over, we are all in with NordVPN. It is easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience each night. You get the same high quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, France for YouTube, Albania, open Netflix or YouTube and watch the respective program. And this works for other apps as well. That's not all you get with NordVPN, though. It's an all-in-one digital security solution that blocks threats before they reach your device, not after. You get protected against malware, dangerous websites, and ads, and one account can be used on 10 devices. Best of all, there's no risk, nor does a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. Improve your WWE viewing, save money, and receive an all-in-one security solution while getting the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. All right, moving on. Some more matches and occurrences to discuss from Saturday night's main event. Bayley fought Lyra Valkyria. Lyra got interviewed backstage remarking how she and Bayley challenged for the tag team titles the last time they were in Madison Square Garden. Valkyria said all she wanted in her career was to make it to the top and be proud of herself, but now she can't stop thinking about who she might have become if Bayley had lived up to her billing. Lyra hoped that Bayley would be out of her head forever after this match. She did incredibly well here. She's been kicking ass with this gimmick change. Every time she speaks, you just buy what she is selling. Bayley had a serious look of concern on her face when given the same speaking opportunity. She said trying to give Lyra grace because she's going through something was the wrong move. She just needs to end her before she even gets started trying to make her career for herself. Similarly appropriate promo from Bayley, said with a bunch of gusto as well. Valkyria got a remixed entrance theme done in a dark and foreboding style, but keeping the cadence of the track that we enjoy. Despite her turn, a portion of fans still did the whoo in between the key parts. The visual was great. And overall, Vintage, I was impressed that this match got so much set up on the show. And like I said, I loved the visual presentation and audio presentation of what we got with Lyra here.
Yeah, she was really interesting backstage and the things that she said to set it up. And then her entrance, I was like, oh, like this kept my attention. Like it's not like a song you're going to play over again, but it felt properly serious and in the moment.
And it was
So,
something
I liked
that
it.
when we hear it in the future, we're going to know who it is when she's coming out. And that's
Yeah.
important. They got light dual chance at the bell. Lyra got busted open 1 minute into the match. Bayley elbowed her right in the nose on the apron. Blood splattered all over the floor outside. The referee and trainer delayed the match 3 different times, trying to take care of her. Yet for some reason, no one mopped up the blood. Bayley had a nice tope suicida crossbody, but the match was clearly clunky to start. They struggled to find a rhythm early on. Lyra snapped Bayley's neck backward over the top turnbuckle extension and hit the peripatea with Bayley hanging over the middle rope inside. That is when this really picked up momentum. She answered with a catch suplex, throwing Lyra's head backwards into the turnbuckles. Valkyria avoided Rose Plant, but Bayley countered into a crossface over the potentially broken nose. Bayley avoided Nightwing, but got thrown neck first into the top rope as Lyra's nose started bleeding again. Bayley screamed at her to attack, but it was a gimmick to attempt a Bayley to belly. Valkyria avoided it, turning over Bayley with a deep bulldog choke as the referee called for the bell in 11 minutes. He did not check Bayley once, and she actually moved to grab her neck as the bell was ringing, so she wasn't knocked out. She didn't tap, but he ended the match anyway. Lyra literally kicked Bayley out of the ring, throwing her into the ring post and putting the choke on back ringside, manically screaming at the referee. The referee eventually convinced her to release it. Then she separated the steel steps, hitting Nightwing into the base and stepping on Bayley's head, drawing a lot of heel heat with cameras focused on her all the way back up the ramp. This was quite a match and quite a booking. It likely would have been an A- or perhaps even an A if it went exactly as planned. But the rocky start not only delayed the progress of the match, it took them a little while to recover and truly get going. But once they did, it was obviously a terrific match with great work both ways. Lyra being able to capitalize on her fresh presentation by expanding her moveset, introducing a new submission finisher. That was great. Bayley sold her ass off for a woman who should be a future main eventer in the division one day, which is precisely part of what her role should be in WWE going forward. Some will wonder whether Bayley was completely written off WWE TV given the finish. She previously stated her contract expires later this fall, October, November. And while she's been treated incredibly well in WWE, one of her closest friends obviously wrestles for the rival promotion, and fans have been begging her to go there for reasons I cannot understand. But perhaps she decided as much, or perhaps this wasn't a write-off. If it was, she went all out. She went out on her back, put someone over. You can't ask for much more. It could also be Bayley just taking a short period of time off before returning and starting something fresh. Getting a break is not the worst thing, and in the past, when Bayley has taken time off and then returned from extended absences, she generally receives tremendous ovations. This accomplished a lot for Lyra. It was quite enjoyable as the featured match in the middle of the show. 3.75 stars, B+.
Yeah, it took a bit for this to get going. Obviously the busted face messes up the flow of stuff, and it felt like from there Lyra wanted the match to get kind of like manic. And they weren't, because that's an opportunity. I'm sure she realized this is an opportunity to lean into this and make it even crazier because I've got the busted face. Let's really go at this. And it took them a little bit to get it going, and they finally did. When the second time they sort of stopped it, you couldn't see what happened. Lyra's on the outside, and commentary says like she landed funny or something. And the refs keeping Bayley from going out the ring. I'm like, crap, did they just have like another injury in this match that cannot was the referee and just suicide dives out the ring, out the ropes? I was like, whoa, okay. Like, and from that point on, it kind of got, I think, going a little bit more. And it's properly violent. It ended up not being a crimson mask, whatever. She was bleeding from her nose, so it wasn't all like coming out forward. It probably went inward a lot, unfortunately for Lyra, but you could still see a bit of it. You could still see it on the rope. And a properly just kind of like vicious finish. That's what that match and that situation needed to be. Not a regular submission, not a Nightwing thing, pin. No, it needed to be a violent submission, and that's what it was. Basically doing a bulldog choke, essentially. And she had that thing locked in there really well, and Bayley like kind of spits out her gum at the end of it, and ultimately the right result. Now, there was also the crossface from Bayley earlier in the match onto Lyra's nose, and I was like, ooh, like, yeah, like that's what you got to do in this situation. So I thought these two did a really good job. unfortunately, the crowd sucked and was not into most of this. They came around a bit at the end, but these two deserved a lot more from a crowd than what they got.
That's completely fair. Do you think the finish spoke to anything about Bayley's status, or it's just what they did to get Lyra over?
I don't know. I don't know if that was the original finish. I don't know if they audible to it because of the way Lyra just with the blood. Let's make it a more intense finish or something. These two obviously know each other extremely well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Are they on Raw or SmackDown?
They're both on Raw.
Whatever it is.
And that's the weird thing. It's like you could write Bayley off to SmackDown with this, and SmackDown could actually use her. But they have so many women on SmackDown. We're going to talk about this extensively on Tuesday's WWE
they can't
show.
Use her. There's no.
What I'm saying is they would need to move like 3 women over to Raw to put Bayley on SmackDown for that to work.
Yeah, I'll wait till Monday to kind of get a sense of if Bayley's not there, if they say something. I don't know, but I took this as another good step forward for Lyra.
Yes, I think that's what's
Bayley,
most important. For sure.
Coming out of Raw, I'll see how I feel. If she's not on the show, if they say something, I don't know. But right now, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I cannot imagine she's going to be on Raw. I mean, not after taking that beating. That has to be at least a week off, if not. I mean, I don't think we're going to see her. If we see her again, which I believe we will, I lean that we will definitely see her again. Way after SummerSlam, like at least maybe the Raw after at a minimum absence, or maybe even a month later after that.
Maybe this is also something like that was a finish in a way like you're not doing a rematch.
That was definitive, 100%. Yeah,
which is rare for WWE. Normally in this situation, like you do 2-3 matches out of it. Right. They're just if it's what it felt like, we're giving Lyra one big win and then she's moving forward.
And that's fresh. Good for them if they're doing that for sure.
Yes.
That's how it needs to be more often. All right, let's move to Danhausen against JD McDonough in a no disqualification match. Silver King's going to do some housekeeping before we get to the match. On SmackDown, Danhausen got interviewed in his laboratory for the first time by Jackie Redmond, who asked him why he turned down help from Matt Cardona for his match. He was thrown a birdcage from off screen with a stuffed cat inside, which was supposed to help him. He explained you never cross paths with a black cat unless you want to be cursed. The insinuation being that the real cat, Karl Anthony Towns, would help Danhausen on the show, which was music to my ears, but understandably nothing to most of the fans watching. Having Danhausen and Jackie interact, I thought that was really fun and different. Danhausen was given a parade earlier Saturday before the show, starting inside Fanatics Fest, where he shook hands with people. It streamed on YouTube. He was wearing Knicks colors, the orange replacing the red. It was kind of weird. They didn't start it with the parade. It rained. The whole thing was messed up. He's great with kids. His wife was dressed like the Statue of Liberty, but in the Danhausen makeup, which was really funny. They had a couple fun bits. He called Punk Cola Man Punk, saying that was his government name. He also discussed potential awards he could win, like an Oscar, an Emmy. And then he mentioned a Tony, and he said that was cursed, referring to Tony Khan, obviously. R-Truth and a really heavy guy in a werewolf costume were on the single float with him, but there was like 100 fans there. It was raining. It was just a flawed, unfortunate concept. They should have just done the parade in his stupid little vehicle inside Fanatics Fest, where there were thousands of fans who wanted to see him. So that whole thing was messed up. A special Godfather-themed Cursehausen video package aired before the match. It was fine. A Blimphausen flew around the arena during the match, and then later also during the Brunson Reigns segment. And Danhausen's cloning machine was on stage with Dominic Mysterio accompanying McDonough to the ring. Michael Cole, this is where he referred to Messi as Lionel as opposed to Lionel Messi, his actual name. This was during the Judgment Day ring walk, which was such an insane eye roll. Danhausen was out in Knicks colors, while McDonough was in Pacers colors, and Mysterio wiped his shoes with Danhausen's gifted jersey. This immediately became a 2-on-1, given the stipulation with JD obviously dominating. When he wiped his ass with the jersey, Danhausen avoided a moonsault and put it on as a power-up. He was suddenly able to absorb strikes. He had an atomic drop on McDonough and a suplex on Mysterio, but he countered with a suplex into a cutter. Probably the best move of his career. Dom prevented an inverted DDT and started stomping him out, with fans instinctually standing, expecting a save. But they were disappointed because no one came out. JD just starts headbutting him. Then he rips off the Knicks jersey to loud boos. But when the heels went to get a table, the mini Danhausens temporarily swarmed them ringside before getting murked. Meanwhile, Danhausen slowly made his way down the ramp to the stage, putting his new black cat, and presumably the Knicks jersey, which we didn't see, into the cloning machine. Just as Judgment Day was about to powerbomb a mini, the machine opened to reveal, well, I guess a black cat who's a Nick, Karl Anthony Towns, to an explosive pop and holy shit chance. My dude stepped right over the top rope like he was the Undertaker. Danhausen cursed the heels. Cat chokeslammed JD onto the canvas and Dom through a table. And then he cursed JD before Danhausen hit the triple D, Danhausen death drop, and got the 1-2-3. And Silver King had only one reaction to all of this.
Oh! Yes! I love that!
5 stars, A+. I'm kidding. Am I kidding? No, I'm kidding. This was awesome, though. It did drag a bit at the beginning, and then again when Danhausen went up to the stage and the minis appeared. But it was all about paying off Cat for the Knicks pop, and it undoubtedly worked. Those choke slams were beautiful, and obviously credit goes to JD and Dom for not only getting air, but selling the shit out of them. The end of the segment with Cat throwing up the 5 and having the minis jump to high-five him, that was excellent as well. McDonough was the perfect foil for the match in the moment because he sells so well. They got significant heat even without the Knicks stuff, but once that was added, the crowd could not have been more engaged, which is why what you said earlier was straight up false. 3 stars, B- because there was actually some solid wrestling even beyond the theatrics and the fact that this segment was made specifically for the Silver King.
It was fine. On SmackDown when they did the Cat stuff? That's when I was like, oh, okay, I know who's coming. That's why they announced Jalen Brunson with Roman, because Danhausen's going to get a different Nick to come, and that all made sense. I laughed when the Mini-Hausens attacked, and Wade Barrett made a comment of, is one of them Rey Mysterio? That was pretty funny. I had missed the parade stuff. And that probably explains why I was, when the show got set up and Danhausen's involved in promoting and all that stuff, I was expecting heroes welcome when Danhausen comes out into MSG, and he didn't get that. And probably because of what you explained there with the Fanatics Fest and all that stuff going on, everybody seemed to have kind of gotten it out of their system at that point, which makes sense, but kind of didn't make it feel as big of a thing what Danhausen was a month and 5 days ago plus, when he was doing that and the victory parade and all that kind of stuff. So that was just more subdued than I would have thought, because I thought this was going to be the welcome back moment, but ultimately that's what Fanatics Fest was.
Danhausen
was.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Danhausen did get a large pop. He did not get an electric explosive pop like Cat did or like Brunson did or the big stars. But
electric explosive. Okay.
But no, he didn't, I'm saying. But he did get a significant pop from the fans because he's Danhausen. Not because he's Danhausen in New York for the Knicks.
Right. When the show had been announced, I was expecting that's what we would get, and we wouldn't. Credit to JD McDonough, who sold the hell out of those choke slams and moves. The first one, he nearly over-rotated and landed on his head. He jumped too high for Cat. Mm-hmm. Good thing he's okay. Here's a question. Why are Cat and Jalen Brunson both wearing sunglasses indoors?
Because they're
too much
freaking athletes and they're cool or whatever.
Too much sunglasses.
Why does LA Knight wear glasses indoors? He wears them too.
He takes them off though. He doesn't wear them for a whole segment typically.
Does he?
Yeah. And if they had been wearing the cool LA Knight sunglasses,
the segment when he does the reflection in the glasses, the 2 times they've done that, he kept them on. I think he kept them on other times. But yes, you're right. It was
cool.
It was weird that they both had sunglasses the entire time. One reason people would do that is if their eyes are not completely white, and that could be a reason as well. Certainly possible. Yeah.
So this was fine. It was again, a fun Raw segment, was what it was.
Yeah, it was fun.
Everything we all expected it to be.
It popped the crowd in the arena they were in the city they were in, which is the entire point of doing a live event, to make the people that are watching happy. And that's what it accomplished. Simple as that. Let's get to the Women's Tag Team Championship. Paige and Brie Bella defending against Fatal Influence. This opened the main card. Brie had a decent hot tag, a nice arm drag into a yes lock that was undoubtedly taught to her by Bryan Danielson. Quick rope break there. Paige knocked JC Jane off the apron with a forearm when she distracted after 5 minutes. Brie then hit Shinsuke Nakamura's sliding German suplex as Paige dodged Fallon Henley into the barricade. Before or after that, her mouth got busted open hard way Fallon's did. Paige caught Laney Reed with a crescent kick. Then Jane distracted again. That allowed Fallon to take her head off as she tried Rampage. She drove Laney into the ring post, but Fallon held her partner's arms over the ropes to prevent a victory roll. But Bella knocked Henley off, and Paige executed the victory roll. Jane reached into the ring during the count, pushed Reed backwards, reversed the move, and new champions got crowned in less than 8 minutes. Well, I should have stuck with my gut and not changed my prediction on the Ultimate Preview. This was the right move to finally progress the titles and give Fatal Influence something meaty to chew on as a group. The shortish runtime, it was disappointing. It's not like we really need Paige and Brie wrestling long matches. If this was Fatal Influence against, I don't know, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and it was 8 minutes, I'd be disappointed. Against those two, it's completely fine. I wish the finish was more definitive and less protective. I know they're heels, but they really needed a crowning moment. I'm not sure this was it. I really just wanted them to hit a finisher, especially since it appeared as if the referee clearly should have seen what happened and acted accordingly. Plus, they didn't even get to celebrate in the ring. You always talk about that. Because they were heels, they ran out of dodge, but they weren't outnumbered. They had the numbers advantage. They should have been able to celebrate in the ring, get their, boos, the heat from the crowd. And instead, they're standing at the base of the ramp, and you're just like, oh, congratulations, you won. What's interesting, though, is that the faces have nothing to complain about coming out of this match. They have cheated in almost the exact same fashion to retain their titles multiple times. I have no doubt this is going to lead to Nikki Bella's return. They'll do a 6-woman feud. I'm sure WWE eventually wants the Bella twins to have a run together before they officially retire, but at least Influence got this win on a huge stage in Madison Square Garden. And it's important for them to finally get a championship because something happened on Tuesday night that seriously pissed off the Silver King. 2.75 stars, C+.
So, yeah, they start at the end. They did. We should really kind of call it the Zelina Vega post-match, which is
right.
You win and you have to rush out of the ring and you're given your belt there. Remember when she won the belt and then every defense of her belt, that's what was happening.
Yeah, it happened 4 times.
Celebrated in the ring.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so I was very annoyed by that because this is their first championship on the main roster. Should be a big moment. Should be a defining next step for Fatal Influence. Instead, with the numbers advantage, they need to run away from the other two after winning via cheating roll-up. And I understand doing to Paige and Brie what Paige and Brie did to other people, but I hate flipping the titles like that after such a legitimately good and long reign from Paige and Brie Bella. For that to then lead to a new first-time tag team champions and to be done so undefinitively with the finish and all that was just very disappointing. Have them just beat them definitively, make a statement, and then whoa, Paige and Brie got rocked. They need they need Nikki Bella by their side to go into a 6-woman match moving forward. I just hated that finish so much. It's everything that goes wrong with women's wrestling is that no one can ever win definitively or look all that strong or it was just a lazy type of finish. I didn't like that, but nice for Fatal Influence to get the win. I don't know if JC Jane is to be in our Gauntlet Hey Now match that we still need to do at some point, but her entrance whole thing was up there as well.
JC Jane or Fallon Henley?
JC Jane for what she was wearing when they walked into the arena right before they came out.
Oh, okay. I understand.
For the show. She changed a little bit, but it was
because I just want to make it clear, Fallon Henley is going to be a perennial contender for the Hey Now Championship.
No, I know.
It's going to be regular.
JC Jane just jumped out there. Last thing on this. Did you see the picture of Triple H and them backstage?
I did not. No.
Here, I'm going to text this. I'm going to text this to you.
You have it ready? Okay.
Because
I can scroll and find it.
Yeah. Triple H is growing his hair back out.
Oh, yes. I did see that on subsequent pictures. Yeah. I see.
And it looks weird.
Of course it looks weird. He's been bald for 25 years.
It is weird when you look back to 2013 era, Authority era, when he's got a little bit of hair on top and not a full beard. It's like a weird, awkward stage. The no beard, long hair, great look. The no hair, long beard look that he's been doing, great look. Mm-hmm. The middle ground stuff's kind of weird, and I don't like the direction this is going. Stay bald with the beard. It looks great. You don't need to change it.
I will say this. No, I completely agree with you. he doesn't have so little hair that it looks bad necessarily, but he doesn't have enough hair where it makes sense to go back to it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, are we on the same page about that? Like,
Yeah.
like it's a circle in the front above the forehead, but he still has those like indentations. And if you have those indentations, and look, I'm sorry if anyone is listening and this is describing you, I apologize. But if you have those indentations and they go like nearly halfway into your head, just shave it, man. So I don't know. Maybe he's trying to soften his look because he does look like a fighter still without the hair. So maybe he's just trying to soften his appearance and be a little bit more of an executive. I don't know. Or differentiate himself from Dana White, who doesn't look that dissimilar. He doesn't have a beard, but
Well, that's what the beard. When you look at Triple H pictures, any like medium length hair just looks kind of weird on him. He wore the long hair spectacularly.
He did,
but then when he went like short hair, it was like, and then when he went bald, it was great. It's just you gotta balance the weight a little bit.
If you look at the picture of
I don't know.
Well, don't forget he did have short hair for a period of time.
He did, yeah. About 13 years ago.
But I just sent you a picture of him with Kat, and it's like, it's just not thick enough to be worth to grow in. That's the thing. It's like, if you still have the hair and you decide you want to get it back, cool. But if it's not going to be thick, why? If you've been bald for 20 years, why are you doing it? You know? He
looks great bald. Like, again, his current look has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Stick with it.
Yeah, we're on the same page there.
Stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, more fashion and men's appearance critiques here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. You can find us Tuesdays and Thursdays. Let's move to the final match, which was actually on the countdown. Did you watch this? Are you aware of it?
I was not aware until you tweeted about it. I didn't know what was happening.
Okay, well, it was Trick Williams against Laredo Kid, non-title match on the Countdown show. This was randomly announced earlier Saturday. I speak for you when I say we both love the idea of kickoff show equivalent matches, but at the same time, there should ideally be some reason for them happening, which was almost always the case for WWE in the past. This was the first one of these matches they've done since 2024, but it's certainly better to get an extra match than to not get one. And going in, Laredo is the type of talent who I figured would get the most out of Trick, kind of like Ilya Dragunov has before. By the way, where the hell is Ilya Dragunov? Laredo got a pleasantly strong reaction during the match when flashing his talent, including a corkscrew moonsault in the early stages. Trick dodged a kick, hitting a leaping neckbreaker, leg lariat, flapjack, and trick slap, which I'm growing to hate as a move. Laredo countered a float-over bookend attempt, following with a step-off senton over the ring post. Williams completely missed the catch. You gotta protect your opponent, man. Laredo then missed a Phoenix splash and ate a trick shot for the 1-2-3 in about 7:15. Perfectly fine for a kickoff match. Laredo largely succeeded in making Trick look good, but man, he cannot miss spots like that cannonball senton, especially not from that height and distance over the post. Again, you got to protect your guy. I'm glad they got this on the card to get the crowd juiced up before the main card. It definitely helped, especially since the women's tag team match opened and that was the coldest the crowd would have been for anything. Hopefully this is the start of a trend. 3.25 stars B.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so I can't say, but I love the idea of doing a kickoff match. And preferably not announced apparently right before the show. Like, just have minor stuff going. It doesn't need to be 3 matches, just something.
All they had to do. They had Trick on SmackDown
pre-show.
They had Trick on SmackDown Friday. They could have had Laredo backstage bump into him. They could have just announced it on the show. Just, I don't know, 24 hours. That's all we need for a kickoff match. Just do it.
Yeah.
And lastly, Obafemi was interviewed by Stephanie McMahon in the ring on the Countdown show for some reason. This was probably done solely just for the entrance pop and MSG. Femi admitted that he lost the last match to Brock Lesnar legitimately, but said he's miles ahead of him in the mental game. He is living in Lesnar's head. Oba told Brock that times are changing faster than he realizes, and at Hell in a Cell, it will be Lesnar locked inside with Femi, not the other way around. The camera drew in for a close-up, showing nothing but the area from Oba's eyes to his chin. As he completed his promo, he spit out all his monikers. It was a terrific visual, a real hot segment for the crowd, even if it mostly came out of nowhere. He got aura for days. And when you go Trick and Oba into the show, that is how more Countdown shows should be accomplished by WWE. So kudos to them for making it really entertaining and a pretty fast 30 minutes where, frequently these shows are like 2 hours long and nothing happens on them. So that was pretty solid. All right, Vintage, that wraps up the analysis for WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. As always, we go over our pre-show expectation grades, and then you get to go first and give your final grade for any special event, premium live event, pay-per-view. Our grades on the Ultimate Preview, Silver King was at an 87B+, admittedly inflated because of the Knicks element. You were at a 76C, which I thought was quite low. But as always, you get the opportunity to go first when we give our post-show grades. Vintage, what is your final for WWE Saturday Night's Main Event inside Madison Square Garden?
B-. And that's because the wrestling was good. Lyra Bailey was good. Women's tag was okay. Didn't like the finish, but that's that. The main event tag was good. And the Danhausen thing was fine. So we had some stakes. We had some decent wrestling. It was just, this was like an episode of SmackDown, though. And so just the ceiling on this was always going to be low. And I'm grading, I know you don't do this. I grade this similar as I would a pay-per-view because this is not on NBC free TV anymore. It's on Peacock. It's not even on Netflix. You have to pay for a whole separate service to watch this. And if you're going to ask people to do that, I'm going to grade this as if it's one of those other big ones. And so I'll go B- 81, exceeded my expectations, but you could have not seen this and it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think this is something where you get the highlight clips that WWE publishes on YouTube, and you could probably get away with it. I would make sure you see the main event. And honestly, you know what? I actually slightly disagree.
Which main event?
The
actual main event or the match?
The actual main event. Unless you're a Knicks fan, in which you should see both. But no, I actually believe you need to see the main event tag team match and Bayley, Lyra, Valkyria, especially because it's their only match, which you and I both believe. Those to me were both extremely valuable. The other ones you could skip unless you're a Knicks fan or unless you love Danhausen. And then you should definitely watch that as well because it was a lot of fun. And Kat did a great job there. I'm glad you came up. I think that's a completely fair and reasonable grade. I'm going to say that this met my expectations exactly where they were, 87B+. And that is admittedly with a curve for the Knicks elements because that meant a lot to me. This show spoke to the Silver King directly. I don't know what my grade would be without that, but it would probably be a lot closer to yours. Probably like a low B, not a B- because I don't grade it as a premium live event. To me, it's a completely different show. It's like a hybrid of a PLE and a TV episode. It's like right in the middle. So I probably would be in that low B range. I would not be at an 81. I thought it was way better than an 81, especially with the Bayley Lyra match and the main event. But because of the Knicks element and because, like I said, this meant a lot to me specifically, I'm sticking at that 87B+. It certainly did not exceed my expectations, and it certainly did not fall below them. This show basically delivered what it needed to for someone like me to enjoy it at that level. So, look, that wraps up our instant analysis for WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. We will be back on Tuesday discussing the entire week in WWE. We actually have a lot to talk about from SmackDown, primarily the women's division. Silver King, I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. It's been a while since I've had like a classic rant on the podcast, like a true rant. And you're going to hear that in the main event of Tuesday's episode. So that's a little teaser, a little reason for you to make sure you listen. But we'll be talking all things WWE from SmackDown that we did not cover already. And of course, everything that happens on Monday Night Raw. And then we'll be back on Thursday talking NXT, AAA, and AEW. And that should also serve, if my schedule in my head is correct, as the AEW Redemption Ultimate Preview. So that means we're also going to have another instant analysis podcast coming next week. That's another 3-episode week here on Getting Over. Make sure you subscribe to the show and make sure you follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show on YouTube. You can listen to the show, watch full-length video interviews, hit the link on our profiles. You can subscribe to the show. You can join our free Slack channel, talk about wrestling with us and our listeners every single week, every single month, every part of the year. Make sure you follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. And please do not forget,
It's all about the five.
head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review if you do. We will read it live right here on the show. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Thanks to Vintage Chris Vanini for joining. This is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.